Welcome to Dive Deep. I'm your host, Caleb Swartz. Our goal here at Dive Deep is transformation. Over the course of this current sermon series, we're going to explore the transformation that Pastor Arlie and Christ Wesleyan Church have experienced during his leadership and care. These next episodes will have two main focuses. We had folks who have spent some time with Pastor Arlie call in and share some memories that they have, and we'll give him an opportunity to respond to those. And we'll play those for you all to hear, of course. And this is going to be Pastor Arlie's very first time hearing these. He has no idea what's coming, so we'll be excited to listen along with him. And then we're going to have Pastor Arlie share some additional background of what was happening during the development of each sermon and explore that a little bit. So kick back and relax as we take a journey down memory lane in the Vintage Collection. Pastor Arlie, thanks for joining us today.
Hey, thanks, Caleb. Good to be here.
And so, as we said, we're going to play a recording for you of a memory shared by somebody that's been a part of CWC over the years.
Oh, my.
So you'll have a chance to respond to that. The first one's going to be more on the humorous side, I think.
Okay. All right. I'm ready.
So let's listen in to a story from Mary Lou Raup about a vacation that your two families took together.
Some years ago in the fall, we went to Ocean City, Maryland for a few days with Pastor Arlie and Sharon. We stayed at the Dunes Hotel. We had rooms located several floors up from the ground with balconies, a beautiful view of the ocean. The weather was perfect. It was going to be a great time. Shortly after arriving, we decided that we'd go for a swim. Pastor Arlie then realized he had forgotten his bathing suit. No problem. Larry brought two. The extra suit was white with splashy big yellow and black flowers. Wow. After swimming, Pastor Arlie said he put the suit on the balcony rail to dry. Apparently, a gust of wind came and took the doomed bathing suit away. But luckily, it landed on the balcony floor of the guest room below. He could see it. It was laying there. But what was he going to do? Larry and I will let Pastor Arlie finish the story.
And so we're left hanging, Pastor Arlie. How did you resolve this precarious situation?
Quite embarrassing. I remember all of this happening. I think if I remember, I had to knock on the door of the people below and ask if I could have my bathing suit. I did have other clothing on, so I was okay.
Okay.
I was okay. But it was quite embarrassing.
Oh, man.
They let me get it.
Well, that was kind of them.
Yes, it was.
Now, were they compassionate towards you, or did they give you a hard time?
I've been looked at strangely before, so I was okay with that.
Yeah. And what about Mary Lou and Larry?
I've done weird things before in my life, and they just laughed.
And that was a vacation with Mary Lou and Larry Raup.
Yes, it was.
Now, how long did it take to live that one down with them?
Oh, I had enough other things that happened that was put behind after a while.
So there you go, vacation story from the archives. What year would that have been?
Wow, that would have been in the early 2000s.
Okay, so almost in alignment with when this sermon was first preached, which would have been 2002 that you had mentioned that this was done first.
I would say that.
And so you gave us a little bit of the history of CWC, but let me give you some history of the year 2002.
Okay.
And then I'll have you fill in. So the Patriots beat the Rams in the Super Bowl. Who cares? It's the Patriots.
Got it.
The Winter Olympics were held in Salt Lake City. There were a couple of movies that came out. Ice Age, Lilo and Stitch, the first Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire, which was Signs.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Gangs of New York, Chicago.
Okay.
And My Big Fat Greek Wedding.
I did see that one.
Jimmy Carter was the first U.S. president or former president to visit Fidel Castro in person in Cuba in 2002. The D.C. sniper attacks. Do you remember those?
Yeah.
The Beltway attacks.
Yeah. Yeah, that was scary.
That was something. I remember that pretty vividly.
Yeah.
I was a younger guy.
Hmm.
The CFO from Enron was indicted. Oh, Enron.
I remember that.
Who doesn't?
Yes. Yeah, that hit the news all over the place.
So popular music artists included Creed, Michelle Branch, Avril Lavigne, Madonna, U2, Bon Jovi, No Doubt, Coldplay, Linkin Park, Justin Timberlake, and it was the first year of American Idol.
Oh, okay.
So there you go. That sets the
There you
stage for
are.
2002.
Got it.
What was going on here at the church or in the Milton community or even just in your life in 2002? You'd mentioned that we would have been in, at that time, what we called the FLC, the Family Life Center, so the new auditorium.
Sure.
What else was happening?
I had, let's see, 5, 13. I had a teenager at that point and a preteen. The church, we had just recently got into the Family Life Center, which we called it then, our present auditorium. We got in like 99. And so we're just getting our feet settled, you know, sound and all those kinds of things, decoration. What are we doing with everything? Trying to think back as far as...
Who was the pastoral team at that time?
Well, that's what I was just trying to think.
Okay, yeah.
You know...
Pastor Ken would have been here by then.
Yeah, he's been here 20 years. So,
yeah.
you know, 02,
Yeah.
like, 21. So he just was new. He was the youngest guy on the team. See, when he started, he was the youngest guy. He thought that was, and it changed like in about 3 or 4 years. It's like suddenly he became the oldest guy on the team. So we had a lot of transition happening at that point. Because had, you know, quite a number with Pastor Darrell, who was on the team. He was kind of my exec at that point. And then, you know, Pastor Dave Wilcox, he was there. Let's see, Tim Hartzell had already left. Pastor Tim had already moved to Williamsport.
Pastor Bud?
Yep, Pastor Bud. And I'm trying to think of anybody
Worship.
else.
Is that Pastor Michael at that time?
Yes. I'm trying to think of when Andy McCutcheon, Pastor Andy was there. Pastor Michael was someplace right around there.
Yeah.
So, you know, it was pretty interesting how the team dynamics changed so rapidly and so quickly right there.
Right. And how many years had you been pastoring at that point? So in 2002?
Almost 20, 19. Yeah.
And so the size of the church was, you were over that 1,000 mark.
Yeah, we had just gone over that. We kind of leveled out someplace around in those years, and we kind of had a little bit of a dip. I mean, we'd reached kind of like 13, I think, 100, and then we kind of went back to 1,100, somewhere around there. So we were kind of getting our feet settled and stable, you know, in that time period.
Do you remember what originally prompted you to write this message?
Oh, no, I don't.
Yeah. I was just curious because, well, as you talked about
Sure.
kind of facing the giants in your life, I mean, at that point in ministry anyway, you'd already launched Meadowbrook. You'd already grown CWC to kind of the culture that we have today.
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering, what might have you been facing? And are there any other challenges like giants that you would identify in your life that you faced besides, you know, growing Meadowbrook and CWC?
I think that, there's been some great giants through the years.
Let me not assume that there weren't others, but those seem to be the very obvious, evident ones.
Yeah, there were some significant times that we went through as a church that were, I mean, right around then the pastoral transition that happened, I think there were 5 pastors within like 3 months.
Wow.
4 months, that transitioned. And so that was pretty significant. It felt like every Sunday I'm coming to the platform with a letter and reading another one and saying, this, because Pastor Dale went to Africa. They went there for a mission thing. Pastor Bill went to Indiana Wesleyan. Pastor Scott resigned. There was Pastor Dave took a lead pastor position. Yeah. And then there was one other one. But
Tim, of course.
the Williamsport. Right. So like there was a whole bunch of change that was happening all at once and all there. So I mean, certainly that was when we lost our money to New Era, that was huge. That was a big battle that we all had to fight.
And as you talk about change, I just feel as though that's probably one of the biggest giants that people face throughout their lifetime continually, because we are never really in a season without change.
Right,
It's just the amount.
I just think the whole idea of running to your fears instead of away from your fears.
That was a great line. That you talk about highlight off a page. Well, that was highlight out of audio for me.
And, I just think that that's probably something all the time that we need to hear. And I think that no matter what the time period or when it was, to encourage people to understand, don't run from your fears. Sharon and I have really, I was one of the oldest persons in my doctoral program when I was in that. I looked around and I thought, hey, my goodness, all these young guys, this is crazy. Sharon was one of the older ones in her master's program that she went through with her MSW. In her 50s, thinking about in my early 60s, kind of working through all this. So, it was just different challenges that could be fearful for some, but we just kind of kept pushing through and going toward those. And I think there's a great importance, no matter what we're facing, no matter what we're going through. Don't run from your fears. Address them. Go at them.
And I think that's where just being together with other believers is so encouraging, because it can compel us in a way that we might not even recognize to be ready to face that challenge and take it head on.
Yeah.
Because I think naturally we want to shrink back from things. That's just very natural.
Absolutely.
And so gathering together really gives us that opportunity. And you've recognized that over the years. That's why, you speak so highly of unity and gathering and being together. And that's been a message of yours for years.
Absolutely. That's been one of those core messages that I constantly have gone back to and emphasized. But all of those things, are such an important part of our own personal development. And if I have the support of other believers with me, and that encouragement that comes from, because we all feel fragile at some point, and you stick us in a worldly environment, and it's coming up against us and beating on our door all the time, it gets challenging. But if you have that kind of support, you can be stronger than you ever thought you were.
Yeah, and I think it's important for us to note too, as individuals who, we've been taught within this culture that we're to be strong, right? That we self-dependent, not relying on other people. Well, get over that, because you're not going to get far on your own. Right. But then on the other side, if you feel like you don't have anything to contribute to others, get that out of your mind too, because even the strongest leaders need other people to be around to support them.
Absolutely. More than any one of us realizes.
Yeah. And so everybody has something to contribute, and everybody has something they need.
Yes.
And so I think if we just recognize that, it's really helpful. And then just the way that you ended the message with the focus on God and what God does, because the whole thing was about kind of facing our giants and us taking steps, but the end was like, well, you're not doing this on your own.
Right. No matter what you face, God is enough.
Right. And it's tricky for people to find that balance between, well, what do I do versus how do I let God do? I
think we do the best we can with what we have, and then we trust God for the rest.
There you go.
I think that's where it really lies. I'm going to do what I can do with what I have. He's given me that. He's gifted that, and now the rest I have to just trust God that He's going to work through it, and He makes up. I feel in my own spiritual journey, my own personal journey through ministry and pastoring, I don't know that I had as much to offer as what is perceived by many. I feel I did the best I could with what I had, and I feel God multiplied it much more than I had. And so as I stand back and look at it, I'm humbled that God chose to use me, and He chose to work through me to accomplish what He did. But I'm very aware that it's been the power of God to multiply whatever we give Him and not what we hold back.
Well, I think that's very encouraging to people listening, because from the outside, your ministry has been incredible to watch. And I don't think any of us would have perceived that you viewed it that way. But thank you so much for giving us some insight into your journey.
Thanks, Caleb.
And thanks for spending some time with us today on CWC Dive Deep. Join us next week as we continue sharing memories from the Vintage Collection. We've got fun stories to share in the weeks coming up, so be sure to tell others about the podcast so they can listen in. If you've missed past episodes, check those out at cwc.life. Have a great week.